Hey everyone, and welcome back to Old Charles, the channel where we dig into the stories and values hidden in your pocket change. Today, we're tackling a coin that almost every single American who was around in the 80s has held at one point or another, the 1981 Jefferson Nickel. Now, you might be thinking, Alex, it's a nickel. It's worth 5 cents. And 99.9% of the time, you are absolutely right. But what if I told you that under the right circumstances, a 1981 nickel could be worth not 5 cents, but $5, $10, even $50 or more? First, let's establish what we're looking at. The Jefferson nickel was first minted in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The design on the front, the obverse, features a left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, based on a sculpture by Jean-Antoine Houdon. On the reverse, you have the iconic Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. Below it, you'll see the denomination, 5 cents. Now, the standard composition of a nickel from 1946 to today is a cupronickel mix, 75% copper and 25% nickel. It's a workhorse coin, not made from precious metal, so its value is almost entirely in its collectability, not its metal content. 1981 was a fascinating year for the U.S. Mint. Nickels were being produced in massive quantities, but they came from 3 different sources. Knowing which one you have is the first and most critical step. Point 1. The Philadelphia Mint. No mint mark. This is the most common one. In 1981, the Philadelphia Mint struck a whopping 657,504,000 nickels. If you find a 1981 nickel with no mint mark on the obverse, to the right of Monticello, you found the most common version. Point 2. The Denver Mint, D mint mark, also very common, but slightly less so than its Philadelphia cousin. The Denver Mint produced 364,801,843 nickels that year. Look for that tiny D to the right of Monticello. Point 3. The San Francisco Mint, S mint mark. Now we're getting to the good stuff. The San Francisco Mint in 1981 was not producing coins for general circulation. Its job was to create special, high-quality coins for collectors. These are called proof coins. In worn, circulated condition, the kind you find in your change, it's worth exactly face value, 5 cents. Even in brilliant uncirculated condition, a pristine coin straight from a mint roll, it's only worth about 25 to 50 cents. The sheer number of them means they just aren't rare. 1981 D, Denver Mint ***, almost identical story. Circulated, 5 cents. Uncirculated, 25 to 50 cents. Now, let's talk about the star of the show, the 1981 S-proof nickel. This is where the value starts to climb. Proof coins are struck with special polished dies on polished planchets, the blank metal discs, giving them a magnificent, mirror-like background and frosted, detailed design. They are sold directly to collectors in sets and never enter circulation. A standard 1981 S-proof nickel in its perfect state is worth about $2 to $4. Already 40 to 80 times its face value. Here's the secret. Look at the steps of Monticello. On most nickels, the steps are not fully defined, they kind of blend together. This is the Type 1 proof. But on a small number of dies, the mint deeply engraved the steps, making them clear, sharp, and completely separated. This is the Type 2. The story goes that the original dies didn't show the steps well, so the mint re-engraved them to be more pronounced. But they only used these Type 2 dies for a short time before switching back. This makes the Type 2 dramatically rarer. Of the over 4 million proof sets sold in 1981, it's estimated that only 300,000 to 500,000 of the nickels are the coveted Type 2. If you find one loose, but in perfect proof condition, you could be looking at $15 to $25, but if you have one that has been professionally graded and encapsulated by a service like PCGS or NGC, and it receives a top grade of PR 70 DCAM, deep cameo, meaning perfect with strong contrast, the value can skyrocket. We're talking $50, $60, or even more. So, how do you find one of these treasures? Let's do a practical search, right now. Step 1, find any 1981 nickel. Step 2, look at the reverse. Is there an S mint mark? If not, it's a common P or D, worth 5 cents. If you see that S, you've got a proof. But now, the critical part, examine the steps of Monticello. On the type 1, the steps will be mushy, indistinct, and not fully separated. It looks a bit flat. On the type 2, the steps are like a staircase. You can clearly see 5 or 6 sharply defined, fully separated steps. The difference is obvious once you know what to look for. Also, check for any errors. Look for doubling in the date or the lettering, or off-center strikes. While major errors on 1981 nickels are rare, they can always add a significant premium. 1981 P or 1981 D from your change, asterisk asterisk almost certainly not. It's a piece of history, but it's still just a nickel. A shiny 1981 S proof from a collection, asterisk asterisk yes. It has a modest premium of a few dollars. A 1981 S proof with sharply defined, clear steps, a type 2, asterisk asterisk yes, you've hit the jackpot for this series. You could be holding a coin worth $20, $30, or much more depending on its condition. The 1981 nickel teaches us a fantastic lesson in numismatics. Sometimes, the most common-seeming coins can have rare and valuable siblings hiding in plain sight. It's all about the details. So, next time you get a nickel in your change, take a half-second to look at the date. You never know what small treasure might be hiding in the palm of your hand. What's in a coin? It's a piece of metal we use every day without a second thought. But if you look closer, it's a time capsule. A tiny, portable piece of history. And perhaps no American coin has a more dynamic, turbulent, and patriotic history than the one we so casually call the nickel. Today on History Hoard we're tracing the full story of the 5-cent piece, a story that involves war. Beloved president, and a secret wartime ingredient that changed everything. Before there was a nickel, there was a 5-cent coin. But it wasn't made of nickel. The very first 5-cent coins issued by the United States Mint were actually tiny silver pieces called half-dimes. The very first of these, minted in 1792, were called half-dimes, pronounced halves. They were so small and thin they were easily lost. The design was simple, often featuring the allegorical liberty. Thomas Jefferson even mentioned them in his writings. For over 70 years, this was how Americans paid a nickel. But the California Gold Rush and the Civil War would change everything. Silver became hoarded, and people needed a new, more stable coin. In 1866, amidst the reconstruction of the nation, the U.S. Mint introduced the first coin to be made of a copper-nickel alloy, the Shield nickel. This was a radical departure. It was hard, durable, and didn't contain precious metal, which kept it in circulation. Its design was fiercely patriotic. The obverse featured the Union Shield from the Great Seal of the United States, a powerful symbol of a recently reunited country. The reverse was dominated by a large numeral, 5, surrounded by stars, and on the first versions, 13 rays between the stars. But there was a problem. The rays were so detailed they were difficult to strike properly, often causing weak impressions and damaging the dies. So, in 1867, just 1 year later, the Mint removed the rays, creating the two major varieties of the Shield nickel. As America entered the Gilded Age, its coins needed a new look. In 1883, the Liberty Head nickel, often called the V nickel, because of the Roman numeral for 5 on its reverse, was introduced. It was beautiful, classic, and it immediately caused a massive problem. You see, the first version of the coin in 1883 had the large V on the back but had the word cents nowhere to be found. A con artist named Josh Tumble realized that by gold-plating these new nickels, they could be passed off as the $5 gold piece, which was a similar size. This scam was so widespread that the U.S. Mint was forced to act quickly. Mid-year, they added the word cents on the reverse below the V, putting the racketeers out of business. Officially, the Mint ended the Liberty Head design in 1912 to make way for a new coin. So, number 1913 Liberty Head nickels were supposed to be struck. Yet, 5 mysteriously appeared. It's believed they were struck covertly by a mint employee. They surfaced in 1920 and became the Holy Grail of American numismatics. Today, each of the five is worth tens of millions of dollars. In the early 20th century, President Theodore Roosevelt championed a renaissance of American coinage. He wanted art, not just bland symbolism. The result was one of the most iconic coins ever made, the Buffalo nickel, or Indian head nickel, designed by James O. Fraser. It was unapologetically American. The obverse featured a composite portrait of three Native American chiefs. The reverse featured an American bison, reportedly modeled after Black Diamond, a bison in the New York Central Park Zoo. But its beautiful, high-relief design came with a cost. It wore down quickly. The date and the words, 5 cents, were the highest points and were often the first to fade. The first version, the mound type, had the bison standing on a raised mound, but this made the 5 cents wear away almost instantly. In 1913, the mint quickly revised it to the line type, recessing the denomination into a plain, flat line. Despite this, Buffalo nickels are still notoriously found with worn-off dates. In 1938, to mark the 200th anniversary of Thomas Jefferson's birth, the mint held a public competition for a new nickel design. The winner was a German-born artist, Felix Schlag. His design featured a dignified portrait of Jefferson on the obverse and a front view of his magnificent Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. This design would become a constant in American pockets for decades. But its most dramatic chapter was yet to come. World War II required immense resources, and nickel was a critical war material for making armor and artillery. So, from late 1942 through 1945, the composition of the nickel changed. They removed the nickel entirely. The new war nickels were made of 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. To distinguish them from the standard composition, the mint placed a large mint mark above the dome of Monticello on the reverse. And for the first and only time, the Philadelphia Mint used a P mint mark. So if you have a nickel from 1942 to 1945 with a large P, D, or S over Monticello, you are holding a coin that contains silver. The Jefferson nickel returned to its pre-war composition after 1945 and continued with few changes until 2004. To commemorate the Lewis and Clark expedition, the Mint launched the Westward Journey series, featuring new reverse designs like the keelboat and the bison returning to the nickel. Then, in 2006, the portrait of Jefferson was updated, and the reverse returned to a new, more detailed view of Monticello. The American Innovation Dollar Program required a new uniform obverse for circulating coins. For the nickel, this meant a complete overhaul. The new obverse, designed by a team, features a more modern, forward-facing portrait of Jefferson. It's the most significant change to the coin's head's side since 1938. From a tiny silver half-dime to a silver alloy war hero, from a symbol of a reunited nation to an icon of the American West, the 5-cent coin has been reinvented again and again. It reflects our artistic tastes, our economic needs, and our national identity. So the next time you get a nickel in your change, don't just see 5 cents. See a piece of American history, right there in the palm of your hand. You send your coin to them. Their experts authenticate and grade it under controlled, consistent